I'd just like to start this video by saying that the true essence of photography lies in the art of seeing, in the ability to recognise beauty, emotion and meaning in the world around us. It is not the camera that makes the image, it is the photographer's vision, perspective and creative instinct. Great photographs are born from how you perceive light, frame a moment and tell a story, not from the sophistication of the equipment in your hands. A simple tool in the hands of a skilled observer can capture magic, while the most advanced gear cannot replace the artistry of a keen and thoughtful eye. Well, good morning everybody. Welcome back to another video. As you can see, I'm coming to you today from the back of my van. The reason for that, and I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible, is that I wanted to talk to you about equipment, and there's going to be some changes from me, hopefully, in the new year. Now, many of you will know that I currently use the Pentax 645Z medium format camera with a range of lenses, and this particular one is the 120mm macro. This lens has taken pretty much every image in the ebook that I produced recently, The Intimate Landscape. It's been a cracking, beautiful lens, produces some fantastic results. But going into the new year, I've decided it's time to start thinking about changing my gear. There are a few things with this setup that I wish were different, and I'll just tell you the couple of obvious ones for me. The most important ones, should I say, for me at the moment are IBIS. This camera doesn't have any IBIS. It's really quite an old camera system now, and it lacks all the whistles and bells that you get in modern cameras. Not that I like whistles and bells particularly, but there's just one or two things that I really like, IBIS being one of them. So there's a lot of issues when hand holding this camera in terms of shake. I've really got to rack the ISO up to make sure I get sharp images. Now, this camera is good for about 800 ISO, but compared to more modern sensors, which can shoot comfortably at 1600 and even 3200 ISO. So that's one of my concerns with this camera that I would like to change. The second being the LCD screen on the back of this is really quite small compared to what's available on cameras today. It's also a very, very basic LCD. It's not like the OLED displays that you get. The colours are quite muted. The feedback, therefore, is not that fantastic. But one other thing is that all these lenses that I've got for my Pentax, they didn't cost a lot of money, but they're all old lenses, probably £200 or £300 each. And for the most part, I've treated them like my old Canon lenses, in that they were all weather sealed. And over time, I've realised that all my lenses except one are developing quite serious mould. Yes, I could replace them. I could buy new lenses. They're not worth getting fixed, getting cleaned, because the chances are that the mould will have etched into the coating on the glass inside. So that's not really something I'm prepared to throw money at. Yeah, like I say, I could change the lenses, buy new ones, but with everything else combined, I've decided it's time for a change, or to start migrating to a new system. So with that in mind, I've recently bought this. It's quite a beast, and it is extended at the moment. It's 1:1. This is the Hasselblad HC 120mm macro. Now, when I say the word Hasselblad, you probably expect this to have cost an arm and a leg, but I actually paid £380 for this, and it's mint. Now, clearly it's not going to work on this camera body for all the reasons I've discussed in terms of IBIS, the LCD. I could get it to fit this camera, but it wouldn't have any communication between the body and the lens. So I've been and bought myself, now this typically was more expensive. This was £300. This is an adapter. There's no glass in this. It's ridiculous for the amount of money. This sits between this lens and a Hasselblad camera body, which I don't have and currently can't afford. I'm saving for that. So what I've done is a good friend of mine has kindly loaned me his X1D Mark II 50C camera to put this lens through its paces today. And what I'm interested in is whether this combination can get me the beautiful results that I've been used to with this lens. It's a massive thing to hold, is this, I have to say. And I was a little bit worried about the size of this, because like I say, when you extend it to 1:1, and then you put the converter. This converts the X body to a HC lens, the older lenses. When you put that on, it's a real beast, is that. But when you look at the depth of the Pentax body, there's a lot of depth to that. So what I actually gain in terms of that lens size, I lose with this beautiful slim body. And as I move over to this system, I will certainly have a much lighter equipment list all round. So without further ado, I hope that's explained my thinking. I'm certainly not looking at buying new Hasselblad gear. I just can't, the costs of those. I mean, the X2D body is £7,500. I'm even whispering when I say that because I struggle to say it, but I'll be looking for second-hand used stuff wherever I can. In fact, this would suit me just fine had it not been for the fact that it doesn't have a flippy screen. As you know, when you watch me work, a lot of the time I'm working looking at the screen, so I need a flippy screen. At the moment, the X2D is the only Hasselblad, certainly DSLR type body that they do that has a flip up screen. So my thinking is that I will get an second-hand X2D perhaps, but what I'm really hoping for is that they'll update the 50C with a Mark III and put a flip-up screen on it. That's my prediction. Who knows? So without further ado, I will get my kit together and I will see you outside very soon. So what I didn't explain fully in the van is why I've chosen Hasselblad over any other camera that's on the market. Well, it's certainly not been influenced by all those lucky people out there on this platform who've been fortunate enough to have been given a camera. It's certainly not that. I've been a lover of Hasselblad cameras, albeit never owned one, for a very long time. Certainly medium format is where I feel that I'm most comfortable at photographically. I spent a lot of time working in 35mm with Canon cameras, but even then there was a period where, quite a long period, where I had a Mamiya medium format camera, the RB67, and I think in terms of the other manufacturers out there in medium format, I think there's really only two main players, or even two that I can think of. That's Fuji, the GFX system, and also Phase 1. And looking at both of those, I had a good look at Fuji when I was at the last show that I went to, and it's a beautiful camera, very, very capable, and a huge range of lenses available to it. But it's one of those things where I find, certainly for me, when I pick up a camera, it has to feel right, and my Pentax always felt right in the hand. It just felt nice from day one. When I picked up the Fuji, it just felt almost a little bit too much like a 35mm, and whilst that's great from a portability size point of view, it just didn't feel right, and I can't really put my finger on it. The Hasselblad does, and again, I can't tell you why. It's clearly handmade, it says so on the tin, and it just has that beautiful feel about it. And it's like, as you grow older, you stop looking at hot hatchback cars and start wanting more not comforts, that's the wrong word, more refinement, just more quality. I sound like I'm putting Fuji down here, but I don't know, I'm probably best just leaving it saying there's something about the Hasselblad that I don't get from any other camera. Phase 1, I haven't even looked at that, purely and simply because I can't afford one. I mean, they're just mega bucks, and I think unless you're making serious money from your photography, then you can't really justify that sort of expense. So I'm going to stop puffing and panting and walked up that hill and get on with finding this image. So for this little trial today, I wanted to take two images. Obviously the subject matter is going to be close-ups. Intimate landscapes is really what this lens is all about for me, and my intention was to try the more complicated type of shot first and then find the easy shot afterwards, but it's happened the other way around. So the first shots, when I say easy, once you've found it, compositionally it's quite straightforward and simple to do. The difficulty is finding the subject in the first place, but what I've got down here just literally jumped out at me as I walked past. It doesn't need any modifications, I don't need to clean it up, don't need to move anything, it's just sitting begging to be photographed, and it's a very, very straightforward shot. I'll show you in just a second. The second type of shot that I had in mind was, you'll have seen me do it so many times on the channel, is the creative type of shot where I'm hand holding the camera, I'm moving it in and out of vegetation, and I'm looking for that really unusual artistic type of portrayal of a subject. And what I like about that type of work is that once it's taken, the chances are it will never ever be replicated again, even by myself. So I do like that type of work. That's what I was looking for first, but as it happens, this has fallen at my lap. So let's get the camera out and have a look at it. So in that frame is the shot that I've seen. I'm just moving the camera around, seeing if you can spot it. I'll move it in, see if you can spot it. And we'll just hold it there for a second. Now the leaf in question is right in the middle of the frame, and it's that beautiful skeletal leaf right there. And what I like about it particularly is not only that it's skeletal, but it's sitting on some nice autumn oak leaves. So that is going to be the subject. Like I say, very, very straightforward, but a nice subject nonetheless, and lots of detail for me to be able to scrutinise when I get back at the screen. In terms of composition, I'm probably going to go for this very, very typical diagonal across the frame, something like that. Keep it simple, but yeah, it looks really nice, does that? And I think if this camera can get in that close, I think we'll be laughing. Now the reason, I'll just explain, I've not included anything else and kept it nice and clean for the very reason, the word clean, and keeping it simple, is that by going in close you do get rid of all the parts of the frame that are not adding any value to the overall image. The minute I come out and you start including edges of leaves, things like that, it starts to look a bit distracting. Now you could, if the surrounding leaf litter allowed for it, you could show other parts within the frame, but they're really not adding any value in this instance, and the star of the show is undoubtedly this one leaf here, and that's what I'm going to go for. So it is quite a beast, is this lens, I have to say, but oh, it's a beautiful thing. I do like it, and I've the shortest tutorial on using this camera known to man today. David literally came, gave me the camera, and we had 10 minutes in the van going through the settings, and basically there you go. But I have to say, it's a very intuitive system. I'm having no trouble at all finding my way around it, and I've just literally put it on live view, and I'm blown away by how much detail I can see. I've not even got it in fully close up yet, but this is something that I could never do before. And there'll be so many of you out there going, it's been around for years as that, which is double tapping and just being able to go in and look at the detail. That's just phenomenal. I couldn't do that. I mean, I could go in 100%, but I'd have to switch it onto a different button and then move the wheel to bring it into 100%, or the other way around I could do it would be I press a button and bring it to 100%, but then I have to scroll back out to get it to normal view, whereas just tapping the lens is a joy to behold. I have to say, every time I put my finger over the viewfinder, and again you'll all be going, we know about that, is that the live view goes off, but I think you can turn that off. So it's just a case of, and for now, at least today, is just double tapping and being able just to tweak that focus. That is quite something else. So let me get this lined up, and then I'll just show you on the back of the camera. So hopefully I can shield the image, the daylight, and try and get it reasonably sharp. So there you go, that's roughly the framing that I've gone for. I've already taken the image. What I decided in the end, this is currently on live view, and I'm on f20 and a 2.5 second exposure, Now, what I've found is that F20 does give me a reasonable result, but I'm a little bit bothered about the edge-to-edge softness, because the leaf, and I'll just try and show you down here, there's such minimal amount of distance between the leaf here and the end of the lens. It's probably only about 6 inches, so the depth of field is really crucial. And whilst I've got the centre plane perfectly aligned, I've really got to be careful. So what I've done is I've taken, and the beauty of this camera obviously is that I can touch, oops, on live view of course, I can touch parts of the image and sharpen it up nice and easily, take that shot, and then quickly again sharpen another part of the image. Really quite straightforward, as I'm sure you're all doing already with your own modern cameras, and quickly get all 4 areas of the image sharp now, and then complete the process in Photoshop and put them all together. Now with my Pentax, it will be a case of pressing a button which would zoom me into the centre of the frame. Then I would have to use a joystick to move to the corner of the frame where I want it to sharpen, and because the processing power of the Pentax is old, it would take quite a while to move the focusing point to that particular area. I then have to manually refocus and then take the image. And then to get to another part of the frame, I'd have to zoom out manually with a wheel, and then press the button again to get it to the centre, and then move the joystick to another corner of the frame. And that is alright if you've got plenty of time, but if the light's changing, such as a day when you've got patches of cloud and blue sky, the light's constantly changing. Even as the clouds are going from one to the other, the light's changing all the time, and I often found that when I got them back to the computer, there was variation in the brightness of the images, and that's a real problem. And similarly, if you've got wind, I don't mean personal wind, I mean if it's a windy day and the things are blowing around slightly, you want to be very, very quick in taking that sequence of images, and that's where this certainly will speed things up. And I know this camera and other cameras have got automatic focus stacking built in with them. I'm not really a fan of that, and I would still rather do it manually like this, but this speeds my process up by so much. It's just a joy, it really is. So hopefully I've explained that well enough, and I'll put that image on now. So I'm only 100 yards down the path and I've found another image. It's very, very similar situation to the last image, so I'm not going to go into all the detail of how to take it. It's exactly the same centre parallel to the subject matter, a series of 4, possibly 5 images in distance. It's just to get everything nice and sharp all the way through, but I couldn't resist it. It's just such a striking, I have to say, it's another leaf, but it's still such a striking leaf. I'll just quickly show you, because the folds of the leaf and the way that they repeat through the frame is really quite beautiful. So that's my subject, and the frame that I've selected is just a segment of these overlapping leaves. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 main ones there. Again, no background to the image, because it really is just all about that texture and detail. I'll just zoom in there and try and give you an idea of the frame that I'm going for. It's going to be something along the lines of that, but look at those colours, textures and details and lines. Really, really beautiful. So something in the ballpark of that. And there we have one of the frames that I've taken but as I say, there's lots of difference between this upper part of the leaf here and these deeper parts here. But I have pulled out a little bit further than that, just to give me a little bit of real estate around the edges of the frame, just for that focus breathing when it comes to stacking the image together. So that was one I really could not afford to miss. So I will continue on my little journey now and try and find the image that I'm really looking for as part of this trial today. Right, so I found a suitable subject. It wasn't easy. This time of year, the woodland naturally is quite sparse, and there's some restrictions that I have with this camera, which I'll explain in just a second. But what I was looking for, there's numerous stands of this hogweed plant dotted around, but I particularly focused on this one here because you've got two together. And the technique that I use is focusing through the first one onto the second one. So the first bunch of flowering heads create a softening effect because the camera sees through it, but not entirely, but it creates this nice softness to the frame, to the sharper portions at the back, which I'm actually focusing on. Now, this setup that I've got here, there is a problem with it in that I don't have my flip up screen, and whilst I'm very pleased that I was able to borrow this today, it does create a bit of a problem. Now, what I'd normally do with my Pentax is I'd shoot from the hip with something like this, aiming up at the sky. You've got lots of comfort down here, and you can put your thumb on the shutter button and just move around whilst looking at the LCD, and just pick your moment and grab your shot. Whereas with this today, and this is why I've struggled a bit finding a subject matter, because I needed something that was high enough up that I could comfortably get beneath the camera and be able to shoot. So in terms of settings, what I've done is I've put the camera in this instance, and I've gone through this before, is the camera's on aperture priority, so I don't need to worry about adjusting the aperture and the shutter speed. I can just put the aperture to where I want it to, which in this case is f4, so the lens is wide open. I don't want maximum depth of field, I want very shallow depth of field. It's quite a creative effect that I'm looking for. I don't want any background trees showing in the frame, I just want the subject. So f4, and I've got, at the moment I'm on 400 ISO. When I shoot up to the sky, I'm getting 320th of a second, which is plenty fast enough to handhold this lens. And I've dialed in +1 stop overexposure. Naturally, the camera wants to make everything mid-tone grey on an auto setting, so I want to bring that grey back to a colour that a tone that I'm happy with, which I want it to be more or less white but not burnt out. So I've put +1 stop, which is getting me that quite comfortably. Now, all I need to do then is just, like I said, push the camera close up to the first flowering head, this one here, and I'm focusing through to the one at the back, and I'm just moving the camera around, looking for that moment when something just snaps into focus and looks really nice. Now, I don't mind, I manually focus the lens. I start at 1:1 with my macro lens. I start right up at its closest focusing point, the other end actually, closest focusing point, and I always start there. And then I just tweak the focus as I'm holding and moving around, as I'm seeing things, and I'm just tweaking it in and out of focus. Now, as soon as I see something, I just press the shutter. Now, obviously, unlike last time, I had 2-second timer on, which meant that I didn't have to touch the camera during the exposure. With this, you definitely need to be shooting either continuous or just single frame at a time. And it's just moving around, looking for nice shapes, and pressing the shutter button. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to show you on the back of the camera some of the frames that I've got, and I'll put the best one on. So I've got a sequence of images now. I have to say it was a real, and I mean real, struggle. Holding that up is not even possible for more than a few minutes, and often I'm using this technique for 10, 15, 20 minutes, looking for various subjects and moving around, constantly shooting. And to hold that up like that is just not easy at all. I'm not saying that I wouldn't become stronger holding the camera in that position, but it's really not something that I want to have to do. And plus, if anything that I was shooting was closer to the floor, then I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't shoot it with this camera. And as much as the camera's been fantastic today, what it has absolutely proved to me is that I do need a flip-up screen. It's just non-negotiable. So let me just take you through some of the images that I've taken just now using that technique. So as you can see, very, very shallow depth of field, very shallow depth of field indeed. Let me just take that exposure down a touch. There, that's better. So I just sequence through these. You can see that background is nice and clear. There's no trees visible. You just see these little, occasional shapes in the background that just help to complement the main subject. And in some instances, these out of focus areas are in front of the main subject. Sometimes they're behind. But it's just been moving the camera and looking for nice, pleasing shapes and compositions. You see that one there. You've got this one over to the left that complements that one over to the right, just creates that nice balance. That was a no, I think, almost certainly. I like the way that these at the bottom feed into the bottom of the frame and just help to hold this main one here. I'll just quickly go through some more. There's one or two right at the end. Quite like those two in combination with each other. Yeah, I did like that one. I like this long straight bit coming down. As you can see, there's loads to go at, loads of variation. Oh, I did like that one because that just looks like a spider upside down coming towards the frame. And you've got this one here nicely positioned. And I did work at that one for quite a while, because if you can see on this one here, I've got a distraction in this top right hand corner and here, but by moving the camera ever so slightly over, I allowed a bit more of this in the frame, got rid of that distraction, but had this one here nicely with the little spider effect coming in at the background. That might be the one that I go for. So I'll put one of those shots on now. So as it's the end of the year, I'm going to put all my favourite images on from this year at the end of the video. Now, if you like those images and that style of photography really appeals to you, consider buying my new ebook, The Intimate Landscape. Over 10,000 words of valuable information and alternating full screen high resolution images. All the images that you'll see at the end of this video are likely to be in that book, plus many more. So thank you so much for being with me today, for helping me go through the process of looking at a new camera system. It's been really useful for me. If you've got any comments, any thoughts, please leave them below, and I'd love to read those. But all that leaves me to say now is I wish you all a very, very happy Christmas and much health and happiness in the years to come. So until next time, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Well, I'm all for Christmas, all the happy smiles and the wishes, and I want it all, from the lights to the mistletoe. Tell me one thing, is there anything that you're missing? I will keep you warm as soon as you remove that snow. Whatever we do, we will be alright. These holiday wonders will open your mind. May all your wishes tonight come true. The love I lived, the dream I knew. This Christmas I only wanna be close to you. Well, I'm all for Christmas. It's a magical time full of kisses. Take a walk outside and take